Hello and welcome to Early Late Nights. That is the wrong thumbnail. That's a problem. That's for something else I was doing. I don't know why I did it here. What a great start to the show. This is Early Late Nights, the show that is presented to you live through the power of Nintendo Labo. That cardboard can do anything, I tell you. No, not really. It is brought to you by the Explosion Network. I'm your host, Ciaran Marchant, and hopefully that's the only problem for the show. Tonight we have a show filled with all those delicious morsels of bits and pieces that we absolutely love. I will be talking about Insomniac's SpiderMan. We'll be going over the top 10 best-selling games for March. Also be looking at Nintendo's latest achievement, and I'll be asking in the tidbit of the week, or of the show, will games be the same when we go back to play them in 10 years? Well, who would know? Not even I. We will have a discussion about that, but let's move on to the show. Let's dive right in. We've got a lot to cover today, so I'm excited. If you haven't noticed already, I haven't heard, Insomniac's doing Spider-Man for PlayStation 4 coming out this September, and boy am I excited. If you didn't see when the game was officially announced with the date about a month ago, the collector's edition came out, it went fucking nuts, it sold out everywhere. And it was with the promise of new costumes. So one of the costumes was the punk Spider-Man that was revealed, and then there was 2 more costumes to be revealed. Well, this week we had another one revealed, along with the release of Avengers Infinity War, which you saw just a moment ago. This would be the Iron Spider costume. So this costume is pretty heavily featured in Infinity Wars. If you've seen the trailers or if you've seen the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it. It's fantastic. But this is one of the costumes that you will be getting with the collector's edition of the game. And don't worry though if you're not getting a collector's edition, because it was stupidly hard to get onto or get a hold of. We've actually been able to. It actually is noted that it's only ever said to be you get instant access to the costume, not exclusive access, not locked behind the paywall. It just seems to be. This is, you get it straight away, where if you don't have the collector's edition, you're going to have to work for that suit. You're going to have to earn that suit through the progression in the game, which is completely fine. I don't see too many problems with that. You get it early. If not, you get to work for it. As Insomniac has already come out and said, there is no microtransactions to this game. Which we're hearing more of. The fact that developers now are feeling the need to say there's no microtransactions in their game blows my mind a little bit. That's the world we live in now, but hey, that's where we live. That's what gaming has become. So hopefully now we'll see more games with more things that are unlocked through gameplay in-game. And I can't wait. There's more costumes to be announced. There was a teaser in that trailer. It shows the homemade Spider-Man outfit from that was briefly witnessed in Spider-Man Homecoming and in Captain America Civil War. That, looks very, it was Peter Parker's initial suit when he started off as Spider-Man in the Homecoming universe, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I'm guessing that'll be in the game as well. And I've been thinking, this made me think that there's other Spider-Man suits that I really want to see. I really want to see a suit from the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. Yes, we've already got Miles Morales kind of confirmed in this game. That'll probably appear and maybe evolve into future games as a playable character. But I want to see a more cartoony, almost Ultimate Spider-Man costume, because it's one of my favorite runs of Spider-Man is that Ultimate Universe. To change, there's a couple options that, for me, I would change completely. I would change the character completely. Like, everybody, and including me, wants Spider-Gwen. Gwen Stacy is such a big character in the Spider-Man universe now because of her time as Spider-Gwen. And I think she evolved into a bigger character because of that. And because of that, people want to see that. People want to be able to play as her throughout the game. So I'd like to see that. My random one is Spider-Ham. There is one of the alternate universes of Spider-Man where he's a piggy. And Spider-Ham is that character. And I would so love just to see this game. I don't think this game's out there enough for me to be able to play Spider-Ham, but we'll see where that goes. And my realistic choices would be the Scarlet Spider or the Noir Spider that we saw in, I think it was called Fractured Dimensions. I think that was the Spider-Man game with the Noir Spider-Man that I really love, that take on Spider-Man, his costume being free of color. What do you think in the chat or online? What do you think, what costumes would you like to see? Are you happy to see these costumes that are being featured in Spider-Man movies? Should they be featured? What are the costumes from the comic book world would you like to see in the game? Because this game, one of my favorite bits of the old Spider-Man games was the costume changes and being able to play as different Spider-Man. So I'm excited to see where that comes from and how that evolves, because I know this game's very heavily featuring Peter Parker, but come on, give me Spider-Ham, god damn it. Moving right along to topic 2 of tonight's show. If you haven't seen, or if you don't know, it's like the end of April. It's the end of April, people, in 2018. For fuck's sake. It is crazy. It's the end of April already. So we finally got the best-selling numbers from the March release. And it's actually quite interesting because, so these are just the numbers from physical release copies, like physically sold copies of the games. So in the top 2, we have Far Cry coming out on top, Far Cry 5 coming out as the best-selling game for March, with Sea of Thieves coming very closely in second. The rest of them are they're okay. So, you know, MLB 18 The Show in third, Kirby Star All-Stars, Grand Theft Auto 5 still at 5th, fuck's sake, that game. Call of Duty World War 2 still doing well, Mario Kart 8, and Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom slotting in there, with all a smattering of games, a way out getting in the top 20 list. But this list I find super interesting because this list does not include any digital sales, and for Sea of Thieves, it does not cover any copies of the game that were purchased through Game Pass. So if you hadn't heard, Xbox Game Pass was giving you access to all the Xbox exclusives from launch day. Sea of Thieves was the first one to do that. And so the fact that it's still number 2 on the top 10 bestsellers for March is ridiculous. It's crazy. It's really far out there and stupid to think, well, not stupid, but it's fantastic to see that Sea of Thieves still did really well. That it does this list does not actually cover the top 10s of, not the top, the PCs. This game does not cover the PC list whatsoever. So these games are all being done through console. It's fantastic to see Sea of Thieves doing so well, considering Xbox One, many people were having problems with it. Far Cry 5, yes, was the overall winner. It was on both platforms. It had the biggest coverage of the newly released games. It's a good game. It was probably the hyped game of March, and so of course it's going to be first. But Sea of Thieves, I see a lot of hope there for Xbox and Microsoft. I see different bits and pieces to show of what's to come. It's some hope. It was actually recently announced through the Microsoft financials that over the last period of time, I'm not entirely sure of the period, but Xbox has done, the Xbox One's life cycle has done $2.29 billion for Microsoft. And that's really, really crazy for a console that isn't releasing that many exclusive games. That's fan base is being told that by the outsiders who want to bring up console wars that, your console's failing. $2.29 billion is not a laughed at sum of money. It's pretty interesting, pretty crazy. So it's good to see. It's good to see Microsoft doing well, that they're bringing it up. They're coming through with their games. And it's an interesting list. What did you think of March as a month? It was probably the strongest month for games so far of the year, as it always is. Generally is. April's been strong just because of God of War's placement in April. And May looks like it's going to be an interesting month with the up-and-coming Detroit. But it's a strong list. I'm looking forward to the days where I don't see Grand Theft Auto 5 somehow in these freaking bestseller lists. It's ridiculous that it's still bought so commonly. Look, it's probably going to be a time where it's being sold still side by side with Red Dead Redemption 2. So We'll see how that goes in the coming year to see if Grand Theft Auto 5, it has slid 5 spots down. It's normally at like number 1 or number 2 because it's stupid, but it's been interesting to see the growth and the changes of the lists. Right in front of me, so I like launch up. That's what we're doing, people. Geronimo! Oh my god, I did it again. I'm the worst Portal player ever. So it's an orange, so I need the blue. The blue. Geronimo! Oh my god, I keep doing it. Ah, I see what's happening there. Alright, let's do it again. Yes. Yes. I am God. Maybe. Maybe not. Yes, Lady Laz. Microtransactions are generally seen as pretty evil. And they are evil in most games if they're locking us down. And Fluffy Yerno, hi. How you going? On earlier nights, we really don't do much interaction with the Twitch chat until in between the segments while clips are playing, and then after the show, we have a chat before I stream. But I can't wait. Please, if you have any more thoughts on these lists, on this top 10 bestsellers for March, it'll be posted in the description of the show if you're listening as part of the podcast or YouTube. Tell me, what do you think of this list? Are you a little bit... I'm curious that Ni no Kuni 2 didn't get any higher. It's in, I think, 9th place by the looks of it. So Ni no Kuni 2 didn't really get any higher. And the fact that... When will these bestsellers lists... When will this begin to show digital sales? I understand the coverage at the moment is just physical sales, but digital sales is becoming a more prominent market in the gaming console spectrum now. It would be nice to see how much that played effect on these kind of things, like how much would change and shift. And I'd like to know Game Pass numbers for Sea of Thieves. How many people got Sea of Thieves thanks to the Game Pass? How many people used that? I guess it's a benefit. Use that benefit of that Game Pass to see another game that is fantastically acclaimed by all accounts. Speaking of fantastic acclaim, Nintendo, man. Nintendo are getting up there in the world. They're making a lot of, they're making a lot of moves, and it's been interesting. I spoke about on Tuesday Nintendo Labo coming out, and it doesn't seem to be for the older mature audience. It just seems to be for kids, and that's Nintendo, and hey, they're kids. But it recently came out that Mario Odyssey reaches 10 million units sold within the last couple of weeks. And this is very much thanks to the rise of the Switch. Thanks to this console, Nintendo has really risen back up and conquered, a very large part of the gaming market. Mario Odyssey is now the best-selling Switch game ever. Top 3 games are Mario Odyssey, of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild third. And, that's Nintendo IPs. And Nintendo IPs are fantastic. They always generally have been. Always generally. What a crappy way to word that. They normally are just widely spread fantastic games. Like, they're generally really good games. But I think my favorite thing about the Switch and the strength of Nintendo, and I'm glad Nintendo's doing well, is their assistance with third-party and indie devs. It's been great to see games like Golf Story come their way through because of the Nintendo Switch. We had Shovel Knight make another resurgence on that platform. They've got new IPs starting and kind of building themselves, and or continuing with Splatoon 2, or I cannot remember, or ARMS. That was it. I almost didn't remember ARMS. It's all about ARMS. How could I forget? It's been a great console, and that with the announcements that in the coming E3, they will be having more announcements on the Smash Brothers game that's coming to the Switch. I'm excited. There's still plenty of room for this console to grow, still more zany, wacky, kooky experiments that Nintendo's going to throw at us, like Labo, to see if they can continue that, that mass push, that growth that we have so come to expect from Nintendo. They continue to push the envelope a little bit with the different ways they can present content. So I'm excited to see where Nintendo goes. I'm happy for Nintendo. I could be gone on record on one of our podcasts already and said, look, before the Switch came out, I was pretty ready to be like, hey Nintendo, just close your doors on your hardware. Just start bringing Mario and everything onto the PlayStation and Xbox. Okay, thanks. I'll be happy with that. That's all I want. And then the Switch came out, and I love that console. I don't get to play it as much, but every experience I've had on that console is fantastic. The fact that people are still picking up Odyssey, still picking up Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is, a remaster brought over from the Nintendo Wii U, or Breath of the Wild, that, these people are getting those games and then moving on to the lesser known titles like Splatoons or ARMS, like not lesser known, but more their fan bases are smaller and still growing. So it's been really good to see the rise of the Switch. And, the world is their oyster currently. They've got the whole thing before them. They can do whatever they want with that console. And I think it's going to do well no matter what. People questioning, is the Nintendo Labo a bit of a failure so far? And I don't think it matters too much. Nintendo Labo seems to be one of those things where Nintendo's doing so well that they can risk these kind of things working or not working. It's full of the kookiness of Nintendo that we've come to love and adore and appreciate. So it is, I can't wait to see. I cannot wait to see what happens next with Nintendo and what more they bring us. But in coming with that, the favorite thing about Nintendo is you can go back and play their games, and there's always this nostalgia, this love. You go back and play Ocarina of Time, you go play Super Mario Bros. 2. You can go back and enjoy the games and love the nostalgia because everything is in the same space. Everything is exactly the same as where you left it. When you played it as a kid, there's no changing it to them because the technology was limited. They couldn't change things. There was always bugs. There's always little things that speedrunners take advantage of. But nowadays, games are, as a whole, they're too available. They're too available to be changed, to be tweaked, to be altered for various reasons, to be fixed. And there's something when I look back at, that era of, that cartridge era of, you look back and you watch speedrunners at Games Done Quick each year, and the little tricks they do because they know, this movement slows down the pixels like this, or this does this. And I find that fascinating that people know that. Yes, there are still new gen games that still have the same problem or can be modded and changed a little bit, but they're still in that same space. But I don't think we're going to be there in 10 years' time, which brings me to my tidbit of the week this week. If you hadn't seen already in news this week, or in the last couple of weeks it was happening, that because it's been literally about 10 years since GTA 4 was released, and because of that, and it happened with GTA San Andreas as well, so it's been happening for a while, that music has been taken out of the game because the copyright on that music is done, it's out, and they're not playing like songs, sadly, like David Bowie, and a lot of apparently the Russian music on the Russian radio station, which is odd. A lot of that music is currently being removed or has already been removed and replaced by Rockstar on those games. As soon as your GTA 4 goes online, you will lose that music from the game and it'll be replaced with something else, which in many ways is kind of sad when you look at it, because you'd hate to. One of my favorite parts of Grand Theft Auto games is the soundtracks. I love the radios, and for me it would hurt the experience a little bit that if I went back and decided, hey, this is the new era. This is the new. No, sorry. If I went back and just decided I want to play and re-experience GTA 4. And when I go, it just feels off because of that music, because of how different it is. It makes you think. Makes me think, and this is why I brought this up as the topic for the show today, because what if you go back in 10 years' time and we play games and they've been changed, they've been altered, there's something different about them because the developers had to change something, or they had to take something out, or they'd have to fix little things. And it brings and loses some of the charm, don't you think? It loses some of the bits we love. I'd hate to go back to a PlayStation 1 or 2 game now. And the jankiness is almost charming. I always laugh when I go back and play a game that I haven't played in years. It's always a PlayStation 1 or 2 game, and I'll go back and I'll start playing it, and it'll look like trash. It'll look like nothing that I can remember. I can remember these games looking amazing. And it doesn't do that. It just, it looks shit, and it looks janky, and there's jaggedy edges on everything, and the coloring's wrong. But I still love the game. I still find it charming. What happens if in 10 years' time, games have just had, instead of re-releasing remasters, they've changed it, but they've altered voice actors. They've maybe taken a section out of the game that is either not appropriate anymore, or as there's a big disagreement in the world, or maybe not that, so to speak. The appropriateness, maybe games have to. I've gone back and played a couple games. I watched TV recently where I've been like, ugh, these jokes can't cut it anymore. This is not good. But it's a different idea that, nowadays we're getting to the point where developers can change anything about a game. Anything they want. As soon as there's a problem with it, or they see issue with it, they can go in, they can update it. Just has to be approved by the console manufacturer, and they can change the game. That loses some of that, the love from games that we got with all the different bits of the old eras, going back and putting in your cartridge. And, that glitch, the jump glitch, still works in Mario, or they've changed something about the game. They've changed how the jumping works. Imagine if you had a copy of Crash Bandicoot, and this was before the Insane Trilogy, and they've changed how the jumping works. They just implemented the Crash 2 or 3 jumping into Crash 1, changed nothing else about the game, and it breaks the game. As we saw with the Insane Trilogy, it breaks the game because the game is designed to run very differently. Games are so inept in change. Even 1 year apart, the game can be a completely different game. And some games are designed like that. I remember when I went back to Destiny a year after it originally launched, and the game was a completely different game. And people loved it. People absolutely loved Destiny the year later. Or 6 months later. Everybody hated Destiny when it first came out. But is there too much change available now? Is there too much freedom? Can devs go a bit overboard with changes and fixes? Should they be fixing absolutely every single problem without a game? Because back in the day, they didn't have that capability, and we played games without it. Should they still change it? I know you've been listening to me for all this time, but it's me, Ciaran, from the past. I'm so much better than future Ciaran. Future Ciaran probably doesn't even know what he's talking about. But I do know what I'm talking about. Listen up for 1 second. If you have recently watched the Avengers Infinity War movie that was released on Wednesday here in Australia, the last couple of days anywhere across the world, and you want to hear people talk about it live, then be right here, twitch.tv/Explosion Network tomorrow, Saturday evening. Check out our Twitter at ExplosionPod to find out the starting time of the stream. Dylan will be there. There'll be quite a few members of the Explosion Network there because we're all excited and pumped to break down the movie, reveal our thoughts, because I haven't spoken to it really about anybody in the last couple of days, so you should definitely check it out. We would love to see you there to be able to interact with chat so we can hear your thoughts. That is tomorrow, twitch.tv/Explosion Network. Follow the channel so you get a notification as soon as we go live. Cannot wait to see you there. Avengers, Fallout, Rollout, Disengage. Oh God. Tune in tomorrow for that. But it brings me down a bit that in 10 years' time, a game that I love could be very different to how I originally played it. And maybe that's just the world we live in nowadays. Maybe that's just what we've come to accept. So how do you feel about the fact that we can change and update games so freely now that games could be completely different from when they were, when you originally played them 10 years later? Let me know in the Twitch chat, which I will check after the show, and we'll have a chat about it in the after the show section. Or, go tweet at me at your boy Ringo or at ExplosionPod. Tell me what you think. Something to ponder. Something to ponder. And now, each and every Friday, we shine our gaming spotlight on one individual or group to bring some love, to share the love, to bring your passion and love and our audience to them, because they deserve it. And people have been doing a fantastic job in our community, especially the Australian gaming community, that we love to share the love a bit. So this week's gaming spotlight goes to Drew Agnew and the team over at The House of Mario. It is a Nintendo podcast that runs every week that I think is absolutely fantastic. I love how Drew's passion for Nintendo comes through in every single episode, that it really shines a light on maybe a console or a community that didn't have somebody to shine their light on them very often. It was always, some Nintendo fanboy that was hanging on for dear life for their show, for their, their team, their console. And it's really great to see Drew, do things like go out and buy Nintendo labor, which it might not have been for him, but he still bought it so he could bring to you a show featuring the latest news on it, give his thoughts and review on it. Please shout out to Drew. They're a part of the 8-Bit Collective. They're doing some fantastic work over there. Check out their podcast. I believe they're on all good podcasting services. Give them a review, subscribe to their pod, and check him out. Drew deserves it. He's a fantastic guy, and we at the Explosion Network absolutely love the bugger, except for he's ridiculously good looking. Like, he is so good looking and strapping, and what else? Obviously, he's a farmer, so he's just kept in pristine condition up there. But bloody hell, he looks amazing. I need to stop, falling in love with him right now. Thank you very much for joining me for Early Late Nights on the Explosion Network, twitch.tv/Explosion Network. We come live to you every 6:30, every Tuesday and Friday, right here on the channel. Give us a follow so you get notifications of when we go live. Please feel free to jump into chat. We'll interact with you, or I will interact and chat with you in between the clips of the show, and bring your thoughts and theories to the show. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to know why I'm wrong half the time, because I am wrong quite a lot of the time. But it's okay. If you can't catch us live, every Wednesday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Australian Standard Time, the show goes up once again on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Explosion Network, and all good podcasting services. Give us a subscribe, give us a review, check us out each 2 times a week. That's it. I'm just not stepping over my words now. 2 times a week. Really give us a look, and we appreciate any reviews and feedback you can give us for each and every show. That brings us to the end of the show. Oh no! But that's okay. We end each and every episode when I feel like it, or when I don't have something else to talk about, with 60 seconds of media madness, and it's returned. It is back, everybody. Are you ready? I know I'm ready. Have a fantastic weekend. Hope you had a good Anzac Day. I'll see you later. Okay, go! PS Plus announced its free game for May. The headliner for that is going to be Beyond Two Souls, in anticipation for Detroit coming out. That seems pretty fantastic. I already talked about Xbox doing $2.2 billion in sales for Microsoft. More Nintendo's online service is coming extremely soon, so keep an eye out for that. Fortnite. If you haven't played Fortnite, or if you're not interested in Fortnite, you probably wouldn't know. There's a meteor currently in the sky, and it's going to land at some point, and people are like, holy fucking shit, it's going to be great. So people have been waiting around one of the settlements for this meteor in-game to see it crash, and boy oh boy did Epic Games decide to troll them by actually dropping meteors on people's heads. Ugh, that's not very cool. It's gonna hurt. It's all fiery and shit. Hearthstone has finally gone alive with its Monster Hunter or Monster Hunt mode, which is another PvE mode that you can use your decks to take out the next challenge. And keep an eye out for more news on Detroit. It's already been brought out. There is a few problems with the game. Keep your eye out or avoid it. What can you do? Have a fantastic night and sweet dreams.